Hello learners, welcome to NIO Studio. This is welcome to our environmental science course Mukt Vidyani program for E-Vidya program for senior secondary level of NIOS. Learners, you have remembered in our last program we have taken ecological principles for better understanding about ecology. I assume that you have already understood some concept, important concept we can say, of ecology. So now this time we will discuss about ecosystem, its major component, energy flow, food chain, food web, ecological pyramids, ecological efficiency of lesson number 5, ecosystem during this program. So now what we will discuss today's program. So objective of this program is we will discuss about concept and component of an ecosystem, natural and human modified ecosystem, food chain, food web and energy flow through terrestrial as well as aquatic ecosystem. Next we will discuss ecological pyramids and ecological efficiency, growth of an ecosystem, and lastly we will talk about homeostasis and ecosystem balance. So first we will talk about what is introduction. So we all know Earth is the only planet in our solar system that supports life, and first life originated from in Earth. So this part of the Earth which sustains life, which is called biosphere. Learners, if you look from a distance on the Earth, the different color patches represent the large ecosystem or biomes. Look at, there are several patches. So biomes are a suitable habitat for different types of organisms due to different physical conditions. Each biome is divided into many distinct functional units, which is known as ecosystem. So what is ecosystem? Definition, we can say ecosystem is a functional self-sustaining unit of nature to study ecology of the biosphere, and the term ecosystem was firstly coined by A.G. Tansley in year 1935. An ecosystem encompasses complex interaction between the biotic and abiotic components. Now we know there are several types of ecosystem. So ecosystem can be classified as natural ecosystem and man-made ecosystems. So we can differentiate natural ecosystem and man-made ecosystem. So what is the natural ecosystems are dependent on solar radiation, and it includes forest, grassland, oceans, lakes, river and desert. And man-made ecosystems are also dependent on solar energy, and this includes agriculture field and aquaculture pool, plantation forest and many more. Natural ecosystem provide food, fuel, fodder and medicines, and they are also dependent on alternative sources of energy, that is wind, tide and rain. An example includes in tropical rainforest, coral reefs and tidal estuary. And man-made ecosystems are dependent on fossil fuel. We are staying in city, it is known as urban ecosystem. If you are working in a factory, there is a industry, there is also ecosystem, this is industrial ecosystem. So now we will take the major ecosystem of this biosphere. We know biomes are either terrestrial or aquatic, and water biome are largely naturally occurring community of flora and fauna occupying a major habitats. Or biomes can be terrestrial or aquatic, as ecosystem also natural ecosystem also terrestrial as well as aquatic. So, when we see the figure, major type of ecosystem or biome, there are temperate rainforest, taiga biome, when we see major ecosystem of the biosphere, it includes temperate rainforest, taiga biome, temperate grassland, desert, subtropical, desert, tropical seasonal forest, savanna, tropical rainforest, woodland, shrub, tundra and polar cap. There are so many types of ecosystem around the globe. So, when we divide biomes into terrestrial as well as aquatic, so different type of forests comes under terrestrial biome, desert, grassland, tundra are also covered in terrestrial biome. In case of aquatic biomes, it can be freshwater, estuaries and marine biome. So, as we know, definition of the ecosystem. Ecosystem is a functional self-sustaining unit of nature to study ecology of the biosphere. So, now we move to the component of the ecosystem. Component we know it can be divided into abiotic component and biotic component. Abiotic component includes physical factors, inorganic substances and organic substances. Physical factors include temperature or sunlight, rainfall, humidity, light and pressure. They sustain and limit the growth of organisms in an ecosystem. When we come to the inorganic substances of biotic component, it includes water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, minerals, rocks, soil and other minerals. In case of organic substances, it includes protein, carbohydrates, lipids. So, and in case of biotic or organic compound are very essential because it includes carbohydrate, proteins, lipids, humic substances and all are the building blocks of living organisms and therefore make a link between biotic and abiotic component. Now we move to the biotic component. It includes producer, consumers and decomposers. Producers includes green plants manufacture their own food, so we can say they are autotrophs. Consumers, they are dependent on the food prepared by the autotrophs, or we can say another word for these consumers are heterotrophs. So, and consumers can be herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. Herbivores means they feed directly on plants, carnivores which eats other animals and omnivores feeding upon both plant and animals, and most important example are human beings. Humans are feeding upon both plants and animals. So, humans are omnivorous. Next biotic component is decomposer. They are also known as saprotrophs, which includes bacteria and fungi. They feed on decomposed material and the dead organic matter of the plants and animals by secreting enzymes outside their body on the decaying matter, or also called, we can know these decomposers. Other name of these decomposers are detritivores or detritus feeder. So, now we will study or discuss about ecosystem. We know biosphere as well as biomes are very huge and cannot be studied as a single entity. Therefore, we can study ecological interaction in a small pond ecosystem. when we talk about the ecosystem, we take example pond ecosystem, and you can see the figure which is showing on the screen. You can see its various components. So we will discuss in detail. So first we move to the flow chart. We are seeing the ecosystem. Components of ecosystem we already discussed, biotic and abiotic. Biotic component includes physical and climatic factors, soil, inorganic and organic matter, and when we come to the biotic component of the ecosystem, it contains producer, consumer and decomposer. So now we can discuss in detail. First, we all know everybody needs to energy for their all life processes, and sun, we all know sun is the ultimate source of the heat energy, and heat energy which is in the form of heat and light. So sun is the main source of heat and light energy, which are the most important for life on the planet Earth, for every organisms or every living being, we can say. It controls all our physical and chemical factors on the earth. Second most important factor is water or precipitation. Precipitation is the result of condensation of atmospheric water vapors that on saturation fall on the surface of earth under gravity. In our detailed discussion, we will also discuss when we are talking about biogeochemical cycles, we will discuss water cycle, hydrological cycle in detail. Moisture, that is lift or force to rise over a layer of sub-freezing air at the surface, may be condensed into cloud and rain, and major forms of precipitations are drizzling, rain, snow and hail. And we all know, our substratum is soil, and we all do all work in land. So soil is a natural body comprised of solids, liquids and gases that occurs on the land surface. It occupies space and is characterized by one or both, means either horizons or layers that are distinguished from the initial material as a result of addition, losses, transfers. So we will discuss about soil profile or horizon. What is soil for a profile? Soil profile or soil horizon is a layer parallel to the soil surface whose physical, chemical and biological characteristics differs from the layers above and beneath. When कभी आपने देखा होगा खुदाई हो रही होती है तो आपको डिस्टिंग्विश लेयर्स आपको उसमें नजर आती हैं मिट्टी की, तो वही हॉरिजन के हम बात कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि हम सॉइल की बात कर रहे हैं. तो हॉरिजन आर डिफाइंड इन मैनी केसेस बाय ऑब्वियस फिजिकल फीचर्स, मेनली कलर एंड टेक्सचर्स के बेस पर, एंड दीज हॉरिजन्स आर O, A, E, B, C are horizon. We will discuss little bit. So first layer is O means organic matter. It is undecomposed litter layer of plant residue. A layer is surface soil, layer of mineral soil with most organic matter accumulation in organisms. E layer is the light colored subsurface soil horizon is apparent at the base of the A horizon. You can see different color from this figure of soil horizon. A horizon when elevation is pronounced. Next layer is B subsoil. This layer accumulates iron, clay, aluminium and organic compounds by the process of alluviation. Next layer is seep or parent rock, layer of large unbroken rocks with more soluble compounds. Next, when we talk about R bedrock or R horizon, denotes a layer of partially weathered bedrock at the base of the soil profile. Unlike the all layers which we have discussed, R horizon largely comprise continuous masses of hard rock that cannot be excavated by hand. Now we will discuss about biotic component of pond. We are talking about pond ecosystem, so now we will discuss biotic component. First we will talk about producers. We all know green plants are manufacturer of food for the entire ecosystem by the process of photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight, and these plants can be categorized as a floating microorganisms and plants. It can be rooted plant, or they are phytoplanktons. In ponds ecosystem, they are known as phytoplanktons. Abundant, and they are abundant in pond as they make it look green in color. Plants, phytoplankton or plants, green plants which are found in pond ecosystem are Spirogyra, Eulothrix, Cladophora, diatoms and rooted plant in ponds. So ecosystem like grasses in grassland and tree in forest ecosystem. So इधर में जो मिलेगा वो है टाइफा, निम्फिया and hydrilla. Consumers, we all know they are, which consumers are feed on directly or indirectly on autotrophs. In an aquatic ecosystem like pond, they are consumers like zooplankton, nectons and benthic animals. Zooplanktons are floating animals. Examples are Paramecium, amoeba, aurelia and daphnia. Netcons, they can swim and navigate. Example of netcons is fishes. Benthic animals like beetle, mites, mollusks and some crustaceans. When we talk about consumers, so we can take some examples of terrestrial consumers also. So in the terrestrial ecosystem, primary consumers are herbivorous animals. Examples are herbivores are cow, sheep, rabbit and grasshopper, zebra. Secondary consumers are carnivorous animals like lion, tiger, fox, dog and many more. Now third component of the biotic is decomposer. Decomposers are the organisms that break down dead or decaying organisms, we all know, and in doing so they carry out the natural process of decomposition. They can be decomposers can be macro decomposers or micro decomposers. Micro decomposers में होते हैं हमारे earthworm. They are detritus feeders and feed on the soil containing the dead remains of plants and animals. They break down into fine particles and use as a source of energy. Micro decomposers are fungi and bacteria. They are in the soil. They convert them finally into the soil nutrients. Now we have talked about ecosystem, types of ecosystem. Then we talk about the component of the ecosystem, that is biotic component as well as abiotic component. Now come to the next section, that is function of an ecosystem. We all know ecosystems are complex dynamic system and they perform various functions like energy flow through food chain and food web, nutrient cycle. It includes biogeochemical cycles. Here, when we discuss biogeochemical, we will talk about carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle and water cycle, ecological succession or ecological ecosystem development, and homeostasis or feedback control mechanisms. So first we will talk about food chain. Food chain means transfer of food energy from the producer plants through a series of organisms which repeated eating and being eaten is termed as food chain. Each step in the food chain is called trophic level. So during the process of transfer, some energy is lost into the system as heat energy and is not available to the next trophic level. When plants prepared food, it's consumed by the herbivores, so there is some energy consumed. Then herbivore was being eaten by carnivore, then some energy will be lost. So number of steps are limited in a chain, or it can be 4 or 5. So autotrophs are producers of food for all other organisms in the ecosystem. They are largely green plant and they convert inorganic material in the presence of solar energy by the process of photosynthesis into the chemical energy. The total rate at which the radiant energy is stored by the process of photosynthesis in the green plant is known as gross primary production, and this is also known as total photosynthesis or total assimilation from the gross primary productivity is a part utilized by the plants for its own metabolism. यानी वो जितना उत्पाद करते हैं उसका कुछ हिस्सा अपने लिए भी, अपने सर्वाइवल के लिए भी यूज करते हैं. The remaining amount is stored by the plant as net primary production, which is available to other consumers or other organisms. Herbivores are the animals that directly fed on plants. They are also known as primary consumers, and it includes insects, birds, rodents and ruminants. Carnivores are the secondary consumer if they feed on herbivores, and tertiary consumers if they use carnivores as their food. Dog, cat and tiger, lion, they are carnivores or secondary consumers. Omnivores, animals that include their food or they eat both plants and animals, and man is a main example, pig and bear also, and many other examples or we can think. Next is decomposers. They take care of the dead and remains of organisms at each trophic level and help in recycling of the nutrients. So there are two types of food chains. First is grazing food chain and second is detritus food chain. Grazing food chain starts from the green plants that make food for herbivores and herbivores in turn for the carnivores. And detritus food chain starts from the dead organic matter to the detrivore organisms which in turn make food for protozoan to carnivores. Now we come to the next section, that is food web. If we see in our natural system, food chains are not linear, rather they are interconnected or make a food web. You can see the figure. One organism may be a member of several food chains. If we take example of frog can consume fish, insects and snail, and it can be food for snake or any other carnivorous bird, hawk and eagle. So food web, when we talk about the dead remains of all labels are taken care by the decomposer, we all know, and bacteria and fungi are included in the decomposer category. So next we will talk about energy flow. This is another function of ecosystem. Flow of energies in ecosystem is always linear or one way. यानी एक ने अगर एनर्जी कंज्यूम कर लिया तो वो वापस उसमें वापस नहीं जाएगी. Quantity of energy flowing through the successive trophic level decreases when we see figure. In the next slide, the trophic level decreases as shown. The reduced size of boxes in figure. So you can see first box is bigger, then slightly smaller, next is slightly smaller, then lastly is very small. So this is a model of energy flow through an ecosystem. Boxes that indicates the standing crop biomass and pipes indicates the energy flowing. You are seeing some terms, that is NU means not utilized and R for respiration. You can take example, autotrophs has 10,000 calories, herbivores consume 1,000, then primary consumer consumes 100 calories and secondary consumer consume 10 calories. So at every step in a food chain or food web, the energy received by the organism is used to sustain itself and the leftover is passed to the next level, trophic level, and it follows 10% law. I already told example, 10,000 calories, kilocalories primary production to 1,000 calories, 200 calories and 10 calories at top carnivores. So we will take a short break and we will come back when we come back we will discuss another section of this program.
प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो,
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
है द्वार खुला सबकी बात
बचाओ परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बहुत
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने स्वयं बने हम
Before taking a break, we are discussing about the various functions of the ecosystem. We have already discussed about food chain and food web. Now come to the next, that is ecological pyramid. They are the graphical representation of the trophic system labeled in an ecosystem. They are pyramidal in shape and they can be pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass and pyramid of energy. So, we will discuss little bit about it. The producer makes the base of the pyramid and the subsequent tiers of the pyramid represent herbivores, carnivores and top carnivores. So, first we will talk about pyramid of number. This represents the number of the organisms at each trophic level. If you are taking example in grassland, so grassland number of grasses is more than the number of herbivores and the number of herbivores is more than the number of carnivores. So, in some instance pyramid of number may be inverted. Herbivores are more than primary producer, as you may observe in that many caterpillars and insects fed on a single tree. So, next pyramid of biomass, it represents the total standing crop biomass at each trophic level. Next, standing crop mass is an amount of the living matter at any given time and it is expressed as gram per unit area or kilocalories per unit area. The pyramid of biomass is mostly upright. However, in case of aquatic system, pyramid of biomass may be inverted. We can take example in pond ecosystem where in pond phytoplanktons are the main producer. They have very short lifespan and a rapid turnover rate. So, therefore, their total mass at any given time is less than the biomass of herbivores supported by them. Next pyramid is pyramid of energy. This represents the total amount of energy at each trophic level. Energy is expressed in the term of rate such as kilocalories per unit area per unit time or calories per unit area per unit time. Energy pyramids are always upright and never inverted because 10% rule is this. So, now come to the next section, that is ecological efficiency, and Lindman, the first person who defines ecological efficiency in 1942 and proposed 10% rule. Ecological efficiency is a combination of several related efficiencies that describe resource utilization and the extent to which resources are converted into biomass. Assimilation efficiency is the amount of assimilation divided by the amount of food ingestion. Net production efficiency is the amount of consumer production divided by the amount of assimilation. So, formula is formula of ecological efficiency can be represented as ingestion or at traffic level into 100 upon ingestion at previous trophic level minus 1, and this is also called Lindman's efficiency. And now we will discuss about the significance. Why do we study food chain or significance of studying food chain? It helps in understanding the feeding relations and interaction among different organisms of an ecosystem. It explains the flow of energy and circulation of materials in ecosystem. It also helps in understanding the concept of biomagnification in ecosystems. So now we will come to the next section, that is biogeochemical cycle. We all know more than 40 elements required for the various life processes by plants and animals. The entire earth or biosphere is a closed ecosystem, closed system basically, that is nutrients are neither imported or exported nor exported from the atmosphere. यानी जो है वो एक साइकिल में घूमकर वापस उसी फॉर्म में आ जाता है. सो इन इकोसिस्टम flow of nutrients is cyclical. This is because the nutrient cycle from dead remains of organisms released back into the soil by detritivores which are absorbed by the plants. This recycling of the nutrient is known as biogeochemical cycle or nutrient cycle. So, there are two important components of a biogeochemical cycle, that is reservoir pool or cyclic pool. Reservoir pools mean atmospheric or rock which stores large amount of nutrients, and cyclic or compartment of cycle, they are relatively short storage of carbon in the form of plant and animals. So, first we will discuss, we have already talked to you कि we will discuss three cycles, that is nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle and hydrological cycle. So, first we will take nitrogen cycle. So, nitrogen cycle is completed into 5 steps, that is fixation, nitrification, assimilation, ammonification and detrification. So, now we will discuss nitrogen cycle in detail. So, first step is fixation. As we already said कि this cycle is completed in 5 steps. First is fixation. Atmospheric nitrogen must be fixed in a usable form of to be taken up by the plants, and it can be done by lightning fixation or industrial fixation. Lightning fixation can be lightning, combustion and volcanic activities that is help in the fixation of, that will help in the fixation of nitrogen. Industrial fixation at high temperature and high pressure, molecular nitrogen is broken into atomic nitrogen which then combine with hydrogen to form ammonia. Bacterial fixation, it also can be done by 2 bacteria, symbiotic and free living bacteria. Rhizobium in the root nodules of leguminous plant is a symbiotic bacteria, and Nostoc, Azobacter, cyanobacteria can combine atmospheric or dissolved nitrogen with hydrogen to form ammonia. Second step is nitrification, is the process by which ammonia is converted into nitrates or nitrites by Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus bacteria. Next, another bacteria, Nitrobacter, can convert nitrate into nitrite. Third step is assimilation. In this process, nitrogen fixed by plants is converted into organic molecules like protein, DNA, RNA that makes the plant and animal tissues. Next or fourth step is ammonification. Nitrogenous based products like ammonia and uric acid and dead remains of organisms can convert it into inorganic ammonia by the ammonifying bacteria. This process is known as ammonification. Fourth step is denitrification, conversion of nitrate back into nitrogen gaseous nitrogen. Denitrifying bacteria, those lived in deep soil near the water table and oxygen free medium. Pseudomonas and Clostridium are denitrifying anaerobic bacteria. Next cycle is carbon cycle, and carbon cycle also has complete with several steps. That is steps includes photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, impact of human activities and combustion. So, we will discuss in detail. First, we will talk about photosynthesis. In the presence of sunlight, atmospheric carbon dioxide, which is the inorganic compound, is converted into organic carbon in the form of food. Respiration is a process performed by all living organisms in which food is metabolized to release energy and carbon dioxide. Next step is decomposition. After death of the animal or plant, remaining organic matter is completely decomposed to release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Human activities also impact on carbon dioxide. Global carbon cycle is disturbed by human activities. Carbon dioxide is increasing rapidly in the atmosphere and also causing global warming and climate change. Combustion, burning of biomass releases carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. So, next cycle is hydrological cycle or water cycle. Natural water cycle is a continuous movement of water around the world through the process of evaporation, condensation, precipitation and transpiration. The mass of water is on earth remains fairly constant. So, this cycle also complete into 3 steps, that is evaporation, condensation and precipitation. So, evaporation, transformation of water from liquid to gas phases by the solar radiation into the overlying atmosphere. It includes transpiration from plants, though together they are specifically referred to as evapotranspiration. 86% of the global evaporation occurs over the ocean. Second step is condensation, transformation of water vapor to liquid water droplets in the air, creating clouds and fog. And precipitation is the next step, condensed water vapor that falls to the earth's surface, and most of the precipitation occurs as rain, but it also include snow, hail, fog and drip. Now we come to the next section of this discussion, that is homeostasis. We know ecosystem are capable of maintaining their state of equilibrium. They can regulate their own species, structure and functional process. This capacity of ecosystem of self-regulation is known as homeostasis. In ecology, the term applies to the tendency for a biological system to resist changes. We can take example in a pond ecosystem. If the population of zooplankton increase, they would consume large number of the phytoplankton, and the result, soon zooplankton will be short supply of food for them. As large number of zooplankton is reduced because of starvation, phytoplankton's population start increasing, and after some time the population size of zooplankton also increases, and this process continue at all the trophic levels of the food chain. So, we can say in a homeostatic system, ecosystem have the capacity of maintaining a state of equilibrium. Large number of phytoplankton, increase in zooplankton, reduction in phytoplankton due to overexploitation, reduction in zooplankton due to starvation, and next later regrowth of phytoplankton, and in every homeostatic system, negative feedback mechanism is responsible for maintaining stability in any ecosystem. However, homeostatic capacity of ecosystem is not unlimited, as well as not everything in an ecosystem is always well regulated. So, you will learn about the scope and limitations of homeostatic mechanism when you gain more knowledge about ecosystem. And humans are the greatest source of disturbance of ecosystem. So, this is, before we wrap up, we would like to recap what we have discussed throughout the session in the form of what you have learned. An ecosystem is a functionally independent unit of abiotic and biotic component of the biosphere. Climate, regime, inorganic substances, organic compound, producer, macro consumers and micro consumers are the structural component of an ecosystem. Functional processes in an ecosystem are energy flow, food chains, nutrient cycles, ecosystem development and homeostasis. All the biotic factors such as light, temperature, pressure, humidity, salinity, topography and various nutrient limit are the growth and distribution of plant and animals. So, all living organisms of an ecosystem are interdependent through food chains and food webs. Removal of any single species of the community causes ecological imbalance. Sources of energy for an ecosystem, all ecosystem, is solar radiation, which is absorbed by autotrophs and passed on to the consumers in the form of food. Energy flow is always downhill and unidirectional. Trophic relationship of the organisms in an ecosystem can be represented graphically in the form of ecological pyramids. At the base of the pyramid represent the producer and successive tiers represent subsequent higher levels. Nutrients move from the non-living to the living and back to the non-living component of the ecosystem in a more or less circular manner, and these nutrient cycles are known as biogeochemical cycles. The main component of all the biogeochemical cycles are the reservoir pools that contains a major bulk of the nutrient, soil or atmosphere, and cyclic pool which are living organisms, soil, water and air in which it stays temporarily. So, this is all about ecosystem. We will come again to meet you in a new program of environmental science. Till then, goodbye and thank you.